okay. We had a little glitch, but now we can start. Yes, this is my very first live stream on how to give children a reading culture. Is a training I have been holding for quite some time, but I've been holding it on WhatsApp. But this time around, I decided to bring it onto YouTube, right? Okay, so I believe that this is something that every parent should try to connect with and to learn. All right. Okay, so having said that, somebody might want to ask me, why do I think that it is easy to give children a reading culture in the 21st century with all the screen additions taking place? Okay, now I'll start by telling you that it's such a beautiful privilege to be a parent. Yes, parenting is such a wonderful privilege. Okay, now one of the reasons why I know that every child can receive a reading culture is the fact that God created only stars. Yes, God created only stars. Okay, so I don't know whatever is your belief or whatever you believe in, but the truth is that if you look at the whole world, if you look at the world, you see the trees, the sun, the moon, the stars. It is easy to agree with me that there is a God, an intelligent God that has created all things and who put everything in place. Okay, so when you receive a child, it's so important for you to appreciate the fact that the child has come in the image of God. And every child that comes in the image of God has inherent in him the potentials, okay? The potentials for greatness. So what you do as a parent to nurture the potential that is inherent in this child, one of the most important things you need to do to be able to nurture the potential that is in your child is to give them a reading culture. Yes, it's so important that we give our children a reading culture. And in this video, I'll be sharing with you 5 practical steps I took in giving my own children a reading culture. Just yesterday, we were discussing some of the benefits that comes from giving children a reading culture. Now, one of the most outstanding statements in all of life is the fact that the Bible says that God made man in his image. So when your child comes to you, when you deliver your baby, it's so important to appreciate that that baby has the image of God in him. Now, what it means, when you talk about the image of a thing, you see, the image of a thing is programmed to do what that thing does. That's why, as I'm looking at this camera now, it bears my image. And when I look at this camera, you can see that if I lift my hand, my image in the mirror does exactly the same thing, right? If I lift my hand, my image does exactly the same thing. If I shake my head, my image does exactly the same thing. That is to tell you that your image is programmed to do what you do. Now, what it means also is the fact that because your image is programmed to do what you do, when the Bible says that God made man in his image, what it means is that every child that comes to you, the child that comes to you from God, has inherent in him all the potentials to do great things. Yes, every child that comes to you has the potential to do great things, right? Okay, now having established that, it's so important for you as a parent to make up your mind to do your utmost best in making sure that that potential that is inherent in your child is harnessed. Now, one of the things you can do to harness the potential of the child that is given to you is to give them a reading culture. I always quote Barack Obama. Barack Obama says that reading is a gateway skill that makes every other learning possible, right? Now, having said that, why is it easy for me to know that every child can be given a reading culture? You see, recently a parent talked to me. I always have a lot of parents asking me questions because of the webinar I hold on how to give children a reading culture. So there was a parent who reached out to me recently, and she said that she's a first-time mom of a month-old baby. And I was so happy for her. I told her that I am very happy that she's coming across my videos, coming across my teachings when her baby is still very young. Because when they are very young, it's so easy. It's so easy to give them a reading culture. And I will tell you how and why. You see, when the baby is born, that baby just came, maybe the baby is just coming from the womb. And you will agree with me, in the womb, the baby was not playing football. In the womb, the baby was not watching home videos, was not watching television. That child was not watching, playing with video games in the womb. In the womb, that baby is quite, passive. So when the baby is born into this world and born into your home, it's so important for you to appreciate that the only place that that baby knows is your home. So whatsoever it is that takes place in your home will determine whether that baby will be a star or that baby is going to be a failure. It is in your hand as a parent to nurture your baby. When the baby comes, you can draw out the star in him. Remember that I said that that baby coming is a bundle of potentials, okay? So you as a mother can program that child to become the star you want. In the adverts I run on on Facebook, you remember that I said that a friend of mine told me that she saw my baby and that she saw the video that my baby made for a particular tech company, and she said that your baby is a star. And I answered that every baby is a star, every child is a star. What makes the difference is what you do with that baby when he comes. Are you able to nurture that baby? So I want to go straight on now to discuss the 5 practical things I did for my children to give them a reading culture, and why I believe that it's so easy for you to be able to do the same for your children. Now, the very first thing I did for my children to give them a reading culture is that I modeled reading for them. Yes, I modeled reading for my children. Now, when I talk with parents, you see that a lot of parents will tell me, I don't have time. A lot of parents will tell me that they don't have time to read. But the truth is that everybody is a reader. It was, a popular author that said that anyone who doesn't read simply has not found the right type of book. There is a reader in you. Most times, why many people do not read is because they have not found the kind of book that appeals to them. And I don't blame a lot of people for this, because you know what? Reading is not part of our cultural heritage. A lot of us do not, we did not come from homes where our parents took us to the libraries or our parents took us to bookshops. No, a lot of us didn't have the privilege of having parents to read bedtime stories for us. So because of that, many parents, the present day parents, a lot of them do not have a reading culture, and it's difficult for you to give what you don't have. But I'm here today to let you know that when we talk about parents reading, we are not talking about parents reading for 2 hours in the day. Most times it's just reading for 10 minutes to 30 minutes. It's just enough for you to read, and there are a lot of advantages you get from reading. Number one, you're modeling to your child that this is what we do in this side of the world. Remember what I said, that when you have your baby, that baby doesn't know any other place. Your home represents the world to him. So whatsoever it is you do in your home represents what that child will begin to do, right? You see, because most times children do not do what we say, they do what they see us do. Okay, so when my children were born, me, I'm a book lover. Remember I said I'm an author of so many books. Okay, so it was easy for me to read when my children were young. So they saw me reading, and it was easy for them to copy that habit. Okay, so if you are a mother or a father listening to me today, I want to let you know that the easiest way, the very first step to giving your children a reading culture is to ensure that you model reading for them. Remember what I said, it's so easy to model reading, because once you see a book that appeals to you, a book that you are interested in, it becomes a lot easier for you to be able to read. And you can schedule 10 minutes, 20 minutes, of reading every day. I remember one lady, she told me, I met her in her church somewhere in Bagada, and she told me that for so many years her husband had wanted her to read, but that she was not interested in reading until she came across my posts in social media. She loved my posts, she loved my writings, and then when she heard that I have books in the libraries, in the bookshops. She went to the bookshops and bought everything. She saw my name there. And she told me that she was the one that was now leading the pack in reading in her home. Why? Because she saw the kind of books she loved to read. So there is a book somewhere that you will love to read as a parent. And why this is so important is this. You see, parenting, effective parenting is the act of making contributions, valuable contributions in the lives of your children consistently. So when you are a parent and you're not reading anything, you will be very destitute of the right kind of knowledge to impact to your children. That's why it's so important that you make up your mind to read very good books so that you will have the knowledge to impact to your children. Now, it was Dr. Mike Murdoch that said that the quality of a generation is determined by the quality of the mothers in it. So a lot of mothers who do not read books end up raising vain children. That's why you listening to me today, if God has blessed you and committed a life, committed a baby into your hands, make sure that you model reading for this child. Remember what I said, it's not difficult. You don't have to read just any other book. You have to pick the kind of books that appeal to you, and you don't have to read for too long a day. I said that reading for 10 to 15 minutes or 30 minutes a day will just be enough, okay, for you to model reading for your baby. Now, another thing I did with my children was the fact that I introduced books to them as early as possible. When they were growing up, I had all manner of books in my home. I had board books, okay? You know, board books are those small books, the books that the earliest type of books that you present to children. Okay, so they had board books. From the time they started sitting, it was easy to put books, board books. You know, board books are uniquely shaped, they are uniquely colored for the children, and once you put it around them, it is just like introducing the concept of books and reading to them. Okay, so it was so important to me, and I had to introduce board books to them. And you can do the same thing. Look around wherever it is you live. In every town where you live, there are bookshops in every town you live. So you can go in and ask them for board books. Most times they are shaped so beautifully, they're shaped so uniquely. You buy board books so that when your child, before that child begins to crawl, you begin to show him the books. You begin to show him or her board books, okay? That's so important. And then varieties of books. Made books accessible, made books available in the home, everywhere, and age specific books. When the child is 3 years old, they have books for 3-year-old. When they are 12 years old, they have books for 12-year-olds. And you know, another thing I want to let you know is that you just make sure that the children, you carry your children to the bookshops, okay? If it's possible, carry them to the bookshops and let them pick the kind of books they love to read. I see parents today complaining. The parents are always reaching out to them and telling me that their children do not love to read. But the truth is that every child will read when presented with the right type of books. Every child, listen to me and listen to me well. I have held book, reading culture webinars for a lot of parents, and the feedback I get from them is that when they implement the things I say, those children begin to read. Every child will read when presented with the right kind of book. I remember one woman that attended one of my webinars, and she said that her son is 6 years old, and that each time she tells that child, bring your books, the child will begin to cry. Why? Because that child has developed a negative association with reading. And I told the mother, I said, stop beating this child. Don't discipline children for not reading. Don't use book or reading as punishment for children. Maybe when it is time for them to read, or when they are playing too much, you say, okay, you're playing too much, go and bring your book. That's not how to do it. Cause your child to associate reading with fun. Let your child believe that reading is enjoyable, and it's so possible to do that by what you do when that child is still very young. What a lot of people do is to put the screen into their hands, but you won't do that, and I'll tell you why. Okay, so when that child is still very young, you cuddle your child and you introduce, you're reading stories to them. Children love stories. You're reading stories to this child. You will see that that child will grow up having a positive association with books and reading, right? So that's what to do. Now, why is it so important that you don't rush to put the screen into the hands of your children? I'll tell you why. You see, the world now, the media is very, very interesting now in these days and age. There are so many beautiful things you can present to your child, but unfortunately, a lot of parents rush to put cartoons, they rush to put video games, they rush to put home videos before their children. I usually feel pained when I'm having my webinars and parents are asking me, my children are already addicted to home video, my children are already addicted to cartoons, what do I do? Now, I know why a lot of parents put the screen into the hands of their children when they are very young. This is because most times when the children are in the toddler stage of life, okay, when they are 2-3 years old, of course everybody knows about the terrific tools, they are very active, and at this age they have not developed the concept of death. They have not developed the concept of danger. They don't know that people die. That is why at 2 year old they do all manner of things. They climb a lot of things and they fall. In fact, recently I was listening to a woman who was talking about how she was so tired, she just lay down just for a few minutes to rest. Before she knew it, her baby had gone into the bedroom and that baby almost drowned in a bucket of water. So I understand. I've raised kids and I know that at 2 year old, when they're toddlers, they're very active. So most times, to prevent them from being active, from going into dangerous places or doing dangerous things, what do parents do? Parents will go and put the screen into their hands. Of course, you know that the screen is very interesting. So by the time the child is looking at all the colors, looking at animations, looking at cartoons, the child will be quiet, and then the mother will rest. The mother or the caregiver will rest, and because the child is now engaged, the screen has engaged him. But the unfortunate thing that so many people don't understand is that behavior is that a man is a creature of habit. Okay, man is a creature of habit. So whatsoever you present to a child consistently becomes habitual. Whatsoever that a child begins to do consistently becomes habitual, and before you know it, that thing becomes a habit and it becomes addictive. In fact, the truth is that screens are designed to be addictive. Screens are designed to be addictive. So by the time a lot of parents realize it, these parents who use screens to engage their toddlers, by the time they realize it, these toddlers are already addicted to those screens. And that is where the trouble begins, because you see, there's something that a lot of parents do not realize. Now, one of the things that parents do not realize is that when children are young and they are addicted to cartoons, they're addicted to home videos. Remember that these young children are supposed to be in school. Now, one habit of human beings is that the human mind cannot comprehend many passions at the same time. Yes, the human mind cannot comprehend many passions at the same time. So when the passion of a child is captivated by cartoons, when the passion of a child is captivated by home videos, you will see that it will be very difficult for that child to give his or her best to academics. And that's why I see parents who come to tell me, they say, my child is very intelligent, but he's failing in school. He is failing because his passion has already been captivated by cartoons. His passion has been captivated by video games, has been captivated by, the screen. Okay, so in that case now, what do you do? There are things to do, but I just want to let you know that you have to be very, very, you have to be very, very determined. Once the child has already been captivated by cartoons, has been addicted to screens, You have to be very determined. There are things to do. One of the things I tell parents is that when a child is already addicted to cartoons, or you have a toddler, or you have a teenager who doesn't want to read anything, in that case, you can use incentives. Yes, you can use incentives. What do I mean by this? I mean giving something, offering that child, okay, say, do this and I will give you this. Okay, some people say it's bribery. No, it's not bribery. You use bribe to discourage negative behaviors, but in this case you're trying to use incentives to encourage positive behaviors. And there have been a lot of parents in the past who use this. You hear, somebody like John Maxwell tell you that when he was growing up, his father used to give him money to read books. Okay, so his father would tell him, read this book and I'll give you this. So the wise man continued to give the child money to read books, knowing that man is a creature of habit. So by the time the child began to read, he now began to enjoy reading. And before you know it, he had gotten addicted to reading. And today the whole world is paying him to read his books. Okay, so it's so important. Even if the child is not paying attention to other things today, even if the child is addicted to the screen today, there is something to do with consistency, with a lot of love, with a lot of encouragement. You can get that child to give up that addiction and to begin to pay attention to reading once again. Yeah, because if you want to use incentives, there's a mother who attended one of my webinars who told me, sent me a message, thank you so much, ma. Said the daughter had begun to enjoy reading, okay, because she was offering her incentives. So you give her incentives, and then she will now save her money. She will save the money that was given to her as an incentive. So that woman is using one stone to kill two birds, giving her money, encouraging her to read, and at the same time teaching her financial literacy, teaching her how to manage finances. Okay, so because whether they read or they don't read, you will still give them money because they are your kids, they are your children. If they need money, you will still give them money. So why don't you use the money to get them to acquire a habit that will help them for life? Now let me tell you one thing that happens when a child has developed a reading habit. You will see that that child will be able to excel in academics. That child will be able to excel in academics. And that's why it's so important that you give that child a foundation early in life. Okay, every child, what I normally tell parents, every child will love to read if you do the right things. And the things that are the right things are the things I'm discussing here. If you're able to get that child, model reading for that child, and when that child is young, in toddler stage, you don't rush to put the screen in his hands to engage him. We know they're very active, but don't. If you use the screen to engage him so that he will not be very active, so that he will not go and put himself into trouble, at the end of the day, getting addicted to the screen is also another form of trouble. Now, let me tell you why it is so important that you do not allow your children to watch adult home videos when they are quite young, right? Now, because this is one of the things I encounter when I hold webinars with parents. I hear some of them tell me that their children are already addicted to home videos. I'll tell you why. It's so important that as parents, you do not allow your children to watch home videos, to watch adult home videos. Now, you see, when children are between the ages of 0 and 7 years old, they have their subconscious mind is open. Their subconscious mind is very active. Now, these children will be watching the home videos, and in the home videos, just as I normally tell people, everybody who is a film producer is a businessman, and business people do business to get money. So, and everybody knows that it's negative news that sells. So what do? They add all manner of things that are not very healthy for children to watch. Remember that these things are adult home videos, right? So the child is watching and is watching all manner of things. And in those home videos, a lot of them, you will see that they portray things that are not equally very good for young people. Now, while the adult who is watching knows that those things are actings, those things are drama. The young person who is watching does not know, right? That's why you see that in the home videos, they will portray a young girl wants money, he goes to men. Now, a young boy wants money, he takes to crime. These days, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds are doing money-making rituals, okay? So those things, they are learning them from the home videos. And then you will see all manner of illicit sexual relationships. You see all manner of, they want to settle scores. What do? They will go and, do one thing or the other that might not be very good, right? And then you will see all manner of vindictive behaviors. Now, the child's subconscious mind is open and he's absorbing all these things. And all those things that he's absorbing is the mental blueprint. He will go out to go and act those things out with time. That's why it's so important that you do not allow your children to begin to watch adult home videos. I listen to parents lament that their children are already addicted to home videos. Now, this is so important that you don't allow your children to be addicted to home videos, because most times when people begin to blame young people for all the hookups, all the crimes going on in the society, where are they learning those things? They are learning them from negative media. It is possible. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not possible for you to shield your children from negative media. It is very, very possible, because when a child is born, entrusted into your care, is what you expose that child to that he will pick. A child that nobody put a screen in his hands will not learn how to use the screen. It is you it is parents that are guilty of everything that happens in the life of a child until they are a particular age. And God, you cannot fault God. If you do the right things, your child will grow up doing the right thing, right? So what I'm talking about here is something I did myself. When my children were growing up, I modeled reading for them. I surrounded them with books, and I made sure that they had other things, other learning materials. And I equally made sure that I shielded them from the screen. Everybody who lived in my home knew that home videos were not allowed in my home. So I didn't expose them to it, and they didn't grow with it. And there's this scripture that says that if you train a child, the way you train a child is the way that child will grow. Because I know that there are some seasons when they will be doing, maybe they will do Big Brother Niger or something, or one home video or the other, or all the news about this video has come out and that. No, nobody. In fact, the television in my home most times is off. Nobody watches those things. Why? Because it wasn't part of their upbringing. But they read books, they buy books, okay? A couple of months back, I told my daughter, in a particular month, I said no more buying of books in this house this month, because she had bought a lot of books that particular month. And that's what you get when you give children a reading culture. They grow up reading books. And at this point in time in the history of our nation, Nigeria, I think it's so important that every mother, every hand should be on deck, so that we can begin to direct our children back to books and to reading. It was Professor Chinachebe that said that each time you open a book, you learn something new. A lot of children out there are vain because they are not reading. Yes, they are not reading. And all the nonsense going on in our higher institutions, sorting and all that, paying money to pass exams, those things are not necessary. A child who has a reading culture will read, naturally read, and pass his exams, okay? And it's so important, because when a child is reading, a child who has a reading culture will be able to pass any exams, will be able to acquire every skill and any skill that is necessary for success in life. So I want to encourage every parent who has been listening to me to please do everything that is within you to give your children a reading culture. Now, having said that, I wouldn't know if there is anybody who has a question. If you have a question, drop it. I will be able to reach out to you and answer the question. As I said, this is my very first live streaming, right? The subsequent ones will follow. Thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful video. And I want to encourage you, if you got value, share it. If you got value, subscribe to the channel and share this with any other parent and every other parent who is on the same, process with you, the same process of raising children. Whatever it is that you've seen that can benefit other women, other mothers, please share it with them. I remember in one of my webinars, one lady came, watched these videos, and I said, Madam, you have put light. He said, you have added light to my darkness. Yes, okay. So you have added light to my darkness, because I was able to give her some information that was helpful to be able to put books into the hands of her children. And remember what I said once again, when children do not have value, if you don't put value into your children, if you don't point them to books, they will go looking for vain things, and that shouldn't be you. Every child, as I said in the beginning, every child is a star. God made only stars. Every child is a star. Whatsoever child that God has given to you, you will be a reflection. Whatever you see in the child that God has given to you is a reflection of what you did with that child. And I trust that after watching this video, you'll be able to do the right things. You'll be able to put value to the hands of your children. Thank you so much. Till I come your way next time, keep reading. Are you sure that you want to stop streaming?